Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm a qualified nutritionist studying fitness now, really interested in people's health span and particularly over the age of 50. I'm also a consultant, very desk bound. One of my colleagues in the industry has asked me to assess his food and basically his health. So I did want to share Patrick's stories with you. So Patrick is in his late 40s. He's single. He doesn't actually have a kitchen. He eats one meal per day. It's a big, obviously, meal. This is his main meal. He doesn't really snack. This consists of takeaway or at a restaurant. Having this one meal per day, Patrick's kind of doing fasting. Now, fasting has been shown to be great at getting your body used to taking sugars out of your blood, managing that insulin levels. Really great for your mitochondria. A plus for Patrick is that he doesn't have a sweet tooth, so he's not having discretionary chocolates or sweets. He likes water, so he's not dehydrated. So many people are actually dehydrated. And the older we get, we seem to not drink as much. But he does like having a whiskey at night. He probably has 4 a night 5 times a week. So on the exercise, Patrick walks every single day, which is fantastic. He gets out and does his 10,000 steps per day. So let me give you an example of what he's eating and his night meals. He really loves Chinese, so he goes out, he orders 2 main dishes. He showed me a picture of one night. He's gone to the Chinese restaurant. He's ordered a barbecue chicken and he's ordered a meat noodle dish and then rice on the side. So if we have a look at this chart, we're mapping this out against the Australian dietary guidelines. So you can see that Patrick is, sitting kind of right. He probably needs a little bit more grains and whole grains. His meat is meeting the dietary requirements, but you'll see that there's no dairy, there's no vegetables, there's no fruit. Discretionary is, for this example, is the 4 whiskeys that he's had in this particular night. Something I want to mention, about these guidelines. So this is the Australian guidelines, the amount for a man in his late 40s. The thing I often really look at is protein. Now, that guideline is a baseline only. So a baseline means it just stops deficiency. So anyone over 45, 50 really needs to make sure that they're having their optimal amount of protein because we are actually losing muscle. We don't want to lose muscle. Really critical for when we're older, helps us move, holds our body upright, takes sugars out of the system. And we're starting to realize that it does a lot more than just that. So, for example, I'm quite short. Obviously, I'm female. I'm 55, and my baseline requirement is roughly around 55 grams of protein. My optimal for me really is sitting at about 100, so it's double that. It's quite different. Now, another thing to be aware of with protein is that your body optimally can't absorb more than about 40 grams in one sitting. So Patrick here having everything all in one sitting is a little bit problematic if he's getting so much protein. He's really not absorbing it all. So I'd really like him to add in one other snack to sort of enhance that protein. So something that's glaringly missing from Patrick's daily diet is dairy. Now, it's not really the dairy I'm concerned about, it's how much calcium he's actually having. Actually, from 30 onwards, we're starting to lose bone density. Now, 30 onwards, it's very slight. You wouldn't even realize it. But it starts to accelerate, especially for women that are premenopausal and after. We're losing estrogen and there's a dramatic drop. But the same happens with men. And the biggest concern is osteoporosis. So not having enough calcium endangers you to having brittle bone. And you don't want to have brittle bone. You don't want to end up having fractures at the end of your life. So it's really imperative that he get adequate calcium. But here's some suggestions for Patrick that I've shared where he can try to incorporate a little bit more calcium while eating out. Now, I don't really want to change Patrick's lifestyle per se. If we make big sweeping changes, it's not realistic, okay? And it's adjustments to his existing lifestyle. So I'm still going to assume that Patrick is going to eat out and get takeaway. So what I would suggest that he include is some tofu, some stir-fried Asian greens, seaweed soups, the bones in soups or the bones in fish are fantastic. Sesame-based dishes, and again, miso. Another area of concern for Patrick, and also, a lot of the young, is the amount of fiber that he's not having. So colon cancer is on the rise. But it's always seen as an old person's disease. But it's starting to shift. And it's not that old people aren't getting it. What's happening is the young adult actually doubled since 1990. That's quite a change. Thing with colon cancer, it's one that, lifestyle changes can really affect good or bad ways. The colon needs fiber. We need food full of fiber, and fiber only comes from plant-based products. So if we have a look at Patrick, there is no fiber. Fiber doesn't come in processed wheat like white rice, and it doesn't come in animal products. So we really want to make sure that he includes some vegetable products, protein that comes from plants. So some examples are fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, tofu. If a restaurant is offering brown rice, I want Patrick always pick the brown rice. Another very important part of the colon and the stomach is our bacteria. And we all have it. It's a huge amount that we have, and they're really beneficial when we have the good bacteria. So we can have bad bacteria and good bacteria, and you want that balance, obviously, where the good bacteria outweigh bad bacteria. Now, bad bacteria love sugars, ultra-processed foods. They love all the things that we know not to be healthy for us. Good bacteria like food with fibers, prebiotic, and it's sort of like the fertilizer they love to live on. But the gut bacteria also love probiotics. And so this is foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso soup, pickles. So we want Patrick to make sure that he includes these into his diets as well. When we include a lot of fruit and vegetables and nuts and seeds, we are making sure that we're getting an array of minerals and vitamins and antioxidants. These are all anti-aging. Another thing that's really important for Patrick to consider is his brain health. And omega-3s are really important for your brain health. Now, the oils that Patrick's probably consuming, because restaurants and takeaway food, ultra-processed food, all tend to use what I would call bad oils. They're vegetable oils because they're cheap and they have a long life. So the good oils, they're more expensive and they don't last as long, so they tend not to be used. The good oils are like olive oils, avocado oils. We've got to make sure that Patrick includes things that have omega-3. So things with omega-3 are the oily fish, certain nuts. I love walnuts. They're perfect for that, and avocado. So I still want Patrick still to continue with his current lifestyle, but I want him to make sure he has diversity on the cuisines that he's eating. And by ensuring that, he will get a range, but he must include vegetables. So examples of where I'd like him to consider is one night out of his 7 is a Thai restaurant. And then when he goes to that Thai, have a stir fry. What I love about the stir fries is they often have heaps of vegetables. You can ask for tofu in it. It'd be great if he also included seafood in that. Another one I really want him to try and have a fair bit of is Korean. And so I'm not meaning just to have the Korean barbecue. I want him to make sure that he's getting all those little beautiful bits and bobs, kimchi and seaweed, tofu, and all the little pickles. They're really great for his gut health. Another cuisine is Japanese. So when he goes to Japanese, he can get seaweed salad, he can get the miso soup, the edamame, raw fish. I'd love him to do all the raw fish. Now he does love Chinese, so he still want him to do that. I'd like him to get those beautiful green vegetables that they have. The stir-fry green vegetables, Chinese broccoli, just think lots of colour. Another night, I'd really like him to do Middle Eastern, like Turkish or Lebanese. They really like pulses. They use a lot of them, and I want him to gravitate to a fair bit of that. Include some hummus, bouilli. They cook a lot with eggplant, with capsicum. Another one that I sometimes do if I'm in town at work, I want a lunch that's relatively healthy. I can do Mexican. And so often they, again, have the brown rice option and they have the bean. And then you can have your salad and avocado as choice. So with that cuisine right through the week, Patrick will ensure that he's getting all those different types of vegetables and kimchis and fiber. It's really important that he makes sure he doesn't have the same thing all the time. Now, what I would really like him to do is to have a snack as well. It's great that he's doing, one meal, but he'd be okay to add another snack 4 hours before. And I'd like that to be fruit and a couple of handfuls of nuts. Now the fruit, I don't want him to have the same fruit every single day. I want him to mix that up. And I want the nuts to be mixed, natural, unsalted. has to be unsalted, and I really want it to be mixed nuts. The idea is to get that bread. My favorite, as I mentioned, is walnut. Every couple of times through a week, I'd really love him to go and get a yogurt and have that as a snack as well. So I hope any of these tips help you along your way and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.